Have you ever imagined living alone in the wilderness? No electricity, no internet, just your hands and determination to survive it all. In this video, you'll follow the journey of a brave man who ventures deep into the forest, living on his own for 7 days atop a 300-foot mountain peak. Step by step, he builds a house in the heart of nature, where every moment is both a challenge and a triumph. Watch until the end to witness this extraordinary and inspiring adventurous story that will keep you hooked from start to finish. Under Mr. Harris's guidance, he began by cleaning gears, polishing cases, and carefully winding delicate springs. It was slow, meticulous work, but Oliver loved every moment. He learned about the history of clocks, the art of balancing pendulums, and the patience required to breathe life back into a silent timepiece. As the weeks turned into months, Oliver became more skilled. Mr. Harris often shared stories about his own journey, how he had inherited the shop from his father, how every clock held a story, and how fewer people appreciated the craft in the digital age. Despite the declining customers, Mr. Harris refused to close the shop. These clocks have seen more life than most people, he said one day. Fixing them is like preserving time itself. One afternoon, a customer brought in an heirloom grandfather clock that had been in her family for generations. The clock hadn't worked in decades, and its mechanism was rusted and worn. Mr. Harris, whose hands had begun to tremble with age, entrusted the project to Oliver. It was the most challenging repair Oliver had faced. He spent countless evenings poring over diagrams, carefully dismantling and reassembling the clock's intricate mechanism. There were moments of frustration when nothing seemed to work, but he refused to give up. Finally, after weeks of effort, Oliver tightened the last screw and gave the pendulum a gentle push. The clock began to tick and sound steady and strong. He delivered it back to the customer. She wept with joy. "It's like bringing a part of my family back to life," she said. That moment changed everything for Oliver. He realized that repairing clocks wasn't just about fixing machines, it was about connecting people to their memories, their stories, and the passage of time. Seeing Oliver's passion, Mr. Harris made him a proposal. "I'm getting too old to keep running this place. Would you take over the shop when I'm gone?" Oliver was stunned but honored. He agreed, determined to carry on the legacy of Harris and timepieces. Under Oliver's ownership, the shop flourished. He blended tradition with innovation, repairing antique clocks while also designing custom timepieces for a new generation. He created an online presence for the shop, attracting customers from across the country who wanted to preserve their treasured clocks. Mr. Harris, now retired, often visited the shop to see how his former apprentice had transformed it. "You've done more than keep this place alive," he told Oliver. "You've given it a future." Years later, as Oliver taught his own apprentice the delicate art of clockmaking, he reflected on how much his life had changed since stepping into that little shop. He sold most of his belongings, packed his art supplies, and set off with a one-way ticket to Europe. His journey began in the cobblestone streets of Paris, where he painted street scenes in the Seine's reflections. From there, he wandered through the sunlit vineyards of Tuscany, the bustling bazaars of Istanbul, and the rugged cliffs of the Scottish Highlands. Traveling wasn't as romantic as James had imagined. He faced financial difficulties, language barriers, and bouts of loneliness. There were days when his paintings didn't sell at local markets, and he questioned if he had made a mistake. But with every challenge, he grew more resilient. He found joy in the little things, sharing stories with strangers, sketching on cafe napkins, and capturing the world's beauty on his canvases. As James traveled, his art began to evolve. He no longer painted just landscapes. He started capturing the emotions of the people he met along the way, a fisherman in Greece mending his nets, a street musician in Prague playing the violin, a family in Morocco sharing tea. Each painting told a story, reflecting not just the places he had been, but the connections he had made. One day, in a small gallery in Barcelona, a curator noticed his work. Impressed by the raw emotion and authenticity in his paintings, she offered to host an exhibition. It was a turning point for James. The exhibit was a success, drawing visitors who were moved by the stories his art conveyed. After a year of wandering, James returned to Chicago a changed man. He no longer felt the need to confine himself to the life of an architect. Instead, he opened a small studio where he continued to paint and teach art classes. His travels inspired others to pursue their passions, and his story became a testament to the power of following one's heart. James often reflected on his journey. Sometimes he would say, "You have to step away from the life you've built to find the life you're meant to live." For James, the road less traveled wasn't just a path, it was a canvas waiting to be filled with color, adventure, and meaning. Nathan was a 36-year-old architect living in a fast-paced city. His life revolved around deadlines, client meetings, and endless blueprints. While he was skilled at designing buildings, he often felt like something was missing. His days were productive, but lacked color, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he had lost a part of himself along the way. One rainy evening, as Nathan was helping his parents clear out their old attic, he stumbled upon something unexpected, an upright piano covered in dust. The keys were yellow, the wood chipped, but the sight of it brought back a flood of memories. It was the piano he had learned to play as a child, the one his grandmother had gifted him on his 10th birthday. He had loved playing it, but as the years passed, music had taken a back seat to more practical pursuits. Curious, Nathan sat down and pressed a key. The sound was out of tune, but it sparked something inside him. That night, he arranged to have the piano delivered to his apartment. It barely fit in his living room, but Nathan didn't care. He spent hours cleaning it, fixing the pedals, and researching how to tune it himself. As he played his first halting melody in years, his fingers felt clumsy, but his heart felt alive. The joy of creating music, even imperfectly, reminded him of a time when life was simpler and filled with wonder. Nathan began dedicating time each evening to practice. It started with simple scales and childhood songs, but soon he challenged himself with more complex pieces. He found that playing the piano allowed him to express emotions he couldn't put into words stressful work, memories of lost opportunities, and even moments of quiet happiness. Encouraged by his progress, Nathan decided to take lessons from a local music teacher. His instructor, Mrs. Bennett, was a retired concert pianist who had an infectious enthusiasm for music. "You're never too old to start again," she told him. Her encouragement fueled his determination to keep improving. As Nathan spent more time with the piano, he noticed changes in himself. His creativity at work flourished, and he began approaching architectural designs with a fresh perspective. He found inspiration in music, sketching buildings that seemed to dance with rhythm and harmony. His colleagues noticed the shift and praised his innovative ideas. One day, Mrs. Bennett suggested that Nathan perform at a small community recital she was organizing. At first, he hesitated. The thought of playing in front of an audience terrified him. But she reminded him, music isn't about perfection. It's about sharing a piece of yourself. The night of the recital arrived, and Nathan's hands trembled as he sat at the piano. The audience was small but supportive, a mix of family, friends, and fellow music enthusiasts. As he held the delicate cranes in his hands, he was struck by a memory of her words. Even the smallest things can bring people joy. That night, an idea began to form. Aiden started folding paper cranes again, but this time with a purpose. He wanted to create something unique that could bring beauty into people's lives. He experimented with different types of paper, vivid colors, intricate patterns, and even recycled materials. Soon, his small apartment was filled with strings of cranes hanging from the ceiling, fluttering gently in the breeze. He started giving the cranes to friends and co-workers as gifts. To his surprise, people loved them. Some hung them in their windows, others used them as decorations for special occasions. Encouraged by their reactions, Aiden decided to take a leap of faith. He launched a small online shop called the Paper Crane Studio, selling hand-folded origami creations. Alongside each crane, he included a handwritten note with a short message of hope or encouragement. The tagline of his shop was simple: a small fold for a brighter day. At first, business was slow. Aiden struggled to attract customers in a crowded online marketplace. He spent hours designing his website, taking photos of his creations, and writing social media posts, but sales trickled in only sporadically. There were nights when he questioned if his idea was too niche, too simple to succeed. But Aiden refused to give up. He began attending local craft fairs, setting up a small, colorful booth filled with his cranes. He told visitors about the tradition of paper cranes and the stories his grandmother had shared. People were drawn to his passion, and slowly, word began to spread. One day, Aiden received an unexpected email from a wedding planner. She had seen his cranes at a craft fair and wanted to order 1,000 paper cranes to use as decorations for a client's wedding. It was the biggest order he ever received, and completing it required weeks of late nights and meticulous folding. But when he saw the photos of the wedding, with his cranes strung across the venue like a cascade of color, he knew all the effort had been worth it. That wedding marked a turning point. Aiden began receiving more custom orders for birthdays, anniversaries, baby showers, and even memorials. His shop grew, and he started collaborating with local artists and designers to create unique origami installations. As the Paper Crane Studio gained popularity, Aiden wanted to give back. He started a program where customers could sponsor cranes for hospital patients, including a note of encouragement. The initiative,